Ow! What's up, everybody? It's time for the O Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, CW, and today let's talk about wrestling moves that have been passed down from generation to generation. I was sitting thinking about a topic to talk about this morning. In my normal routine, I wake up, I walk the dogs, I drink some pre-workout, I get ready to lift some weights, and in the time where my body starts to vibrate from the pre-workout, I am furiously thinking of a topic to talk to you guys about. And today was on the toilet, full disclosure, and I was like, what's a good thing to talk about? And the first thing that popped into my head was Kevin Owens. I was like, let me talk about Kevin Owens. But then I realized I don't really know a whole ton about Kevin Owens. I was like, why would I want to talk about Kevin Owens? And it hit me right in the face, right in the butt. It said, Kevin Owens has become fun to me, as in, I guess I'll call myself an old school wrestler at this point, because he's using the stunner. Since Kevin Owens, I mean, he always had a great moveset, and his pop-up powerbomb is pretty devastating. But once he started incorporating the stunner into his finishers, it really, I feel, rounded out his character quite a bit. Like, you understand his character a little more somehow. You're like, oh, he took the baddest move in professional wrestling and adopted it and does it as, I won't say as well as Stone Cold, but you get it. You see the correlation that he's trying to make. And then I was like, oh, what other finishers or moves have been sort of passed down from generation to generation? So without doing a ton of research and just using my old brain, I sat down and decided, let's talk about that. So yeah, KO as number one, passing down the stunner. Stone Cold has said that he appreciates the fact that KO is using the stunner, and he approves. I think he enjoys seeing a new generation use that stunner. John Cena had a version of the stunner. I think I mentioned that in one of the episodes prior, but his was more, I would say, creative and more impractical. It falls into the category of impractical wrestling moves. It was kind of a middle rope backwards stunner. It was very strange. He ran at the ropes. He jumped on the second rope and then bounced backwards with his back flying at his opponent, who was now running at him. And then he would kind of turn awkwardly, like his head, to see where the person was, and then land. Like, the person would have to basically run their face into his arm for the stunner. So the move really depended on the person, obviously, the second person, not the person doing the move, but the person receiving the move. It was fine. It was weird, and I think Stone Cold said as much. He's like, I like the twist on it, but it doesn't have the same impact, and I agreed. And I think John Cena stopped doing it because it was just a little ridiculous. But that's just one move. I also, just fresh off of watching Monday Night Raw last night, Dolph Ziggler took on Solo Sikoa, and Dolph Ziggler has a move that's been passed down as well. I think he calls it the Famouser, as in like mousse for your hair. Famouser, taken from Billy Gunn's Fame-asser, the Famouser. He was gonna make you famous, and it's basically what is it like? He jumps over not over your head. He places the back of his knee on the back of your neck and slams you to the floor by jumping on your back or something like that. It's hard to explain that move. But another great move, I loved that move in the Attitude Era. I felt like Billy Gunn's the devastation that move could cause was greater than the star that Billy Gunn was. Does that make sense? Like, I felt like that move that was deserved of someone who had more main event status, but who am I? I did love Billy Gunn. Still love Billy Gunn. He's a funny dude, I guess. Why would I say that? I don't know if he's funny. But that move, the Famouser being passed down to Dolph Ziggler, is perfect. They are not a one-to-one correlation, but again, you see the vibe that they're passing between one another. I don't know if Billy Gunn did the job and, you know, signed off on him using the move, but at this point, does it matter? Next, the one that I love quite a bit is the Usos taking on Team Dudley, the Dudley Boys, their 3D, naming it the 1D, giving Bubba Ray and Devon a shout on social media, and then Bubba Ray and Devon responding by saying, good luck with using the move. Thanks for giving us, you know, the credit. May you reign with the 1D now. It's the best way in their sort of isolated brotherhood of and sisterhood of wrestlers. It's always good to see the older gen pass on the move, give the new gen the nod and say, yeah, good for you, keep using that move. So they now do the double super kick and then the 1D, which I think is a great it's not super clever, I guess it's clever, twist on the name, and then they do the moves pretty good. No one will ever do it as good as the Dudleys. They had some flair that just people can't replicate, but I do enjoy watching the Usos carry on that pretty devastating tag team move. And like I've said before, what makes a good tag team? Tag team moves. Gotta have tag team moves. And not the last one that I remember, but certainly one that is, I guess, a true legacy is Charlotte Flair taking on Ric Flair's figure 4 leg lock, and then, pardon the pun, adding some flair to it by adding in a back bend or a back bridge, as it's supposed to put more pressure on the legs. I don't know if that's true, but Charlotte Flair is now back in the fold, women's champ. She is incorporating the spear. We did a whole episode on who does the best spear. Charlotte is now incorporating the spear into her moveset more prominently. They're calling it out now. Oh, she hit the spear, and then she goes for the figure 4 or the pin or whatnot. But her figure 4 is definitely her father's move. It's a true legacy passed down, and I'm never opposed to a submission move finisher. I love, there's some devastating finishers in wrestling. I always thought the figure 4 didn't look as bad as others. Like, the sharpshooter looks way worser than the figure 4, but it's iconic. And the fact that Charlotte Flair, I'm sure she didn't even ask her dad. She's like, Dad, I'm going to do the move. And he was like, woo, you know, whatever. I don't know how he speaks to his kids. And she took it and she ran with it. And now she's like, what, 14-time world champ? She's won a lot. She's won and lost that belt a lot. In the final minute and a half, let's talk about the fact that to be a champ, to be a prolific champ in wrestling, you have to lose a lot. Like a lot. So people praise Ric Flair for being, what, the 16-time world champ or something like that? That means he lost it like 15 times. Like that's a lot of losses. That's a 1-to-1 loss-win ratio. But having the number, like, I've had it 16 times is, I guess, good. I don't know. I don't get that. It's not like, well, what is it? Football or baseball, that when you win the championship, it's over, like the season's over, and then the next season it starts all over again. Then if you have 16 titles, then you're like, okay, every year for 16 years we won this by beating everybody and taking the championship, instead of like, I won this belt, then someone beat me for it, then I won it back. I don't know. I maybe one-time world champ is a better title. Anyway, what other moves do you like that have been passed down to new wrestlers? Make sure you hit the bell on YouTube and get notified when there are new videos up. Subscribe to the podcast on any and all podcasting platforms. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, I have been CW. This is O Wrestling Podcast, and always remember,
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah, yeah.